Hello and welcome to the channel. This video is the beginning of a three-part series of how to create a WooCommerce website in Oxygen Builder. Okay, so we're going to be doing this in three parts. Like I said, the first thing we're going to be taking a look at will be setting up the plugins that you need to get this up and running. Okay, and after that we're going to take a look at setting up the templates, and we're also going to take a look at how to create this archive page using the repeater elements and code blocks and some shortcodes, including some free plugins. I put together this tutorial in such a way that you will not have to use any paid plugin as long as WooCommerce functionality is concerned. That is not to say that I will not use paid plugin in the process of this tutorial, but it's not going to be, with respect to WooCommerce, it's just going to be to make my workflow easier. So while I'll be working in the Oxygen interface, you might notice that maybe some things are slightly different, from yours, and that's because I'm going to be using, some add-ons that's going to make my work faster, and that's because I don't want this video to stretch. I want to work as fast as possible. I also want to believe that you are familiar with the Oxygen interface. You understand the basics of Oxygen interface, like layout, and the divs, the sections, flexbox configuration. So I will not go into explaining some of those elementary concepts. So if you want to understand those elementary concepts, I would recommend you visit the Oxygen YouTube channel, where you have the introductory videos on how to use Oxygen Builder. So that is what the first part of this video is going to be. The second part, we're going to take a look at how to create this single product page, and we're going to have these, upsells. We're going to have these related products, recently viewed, reviews, question and answer section, and a couple of other things. We're also going to be taking a look at, in the third part, at the card page, and how to customize it to look like this. The regular default Oxygen card page doesn't look like this, so we're going to take a look at all that. And I think in the third part, we're going to take a look at all the bells and whistles, like the side cards, how to build these elements and all that. So let's go to the back end of WordPress and start. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to make sure you install WooCommerce. So I believe you should understand how to install plugins. So when you come here, you go to add new, and then I've already installed WooCommerce here, okay? And the next thing after installing WooCommerce, now I presume you already have Oxygen Builder installed, and also you must have Oxygen element for WooCommerce installed. Also, that should come with the agency license for Oxygen. And I'm going to be using the Oxymate for my colors and framework, CSS framework. I'm going to be using that. So you might notice me use that a lot, and that's because it's going to make my workflow faster. And like I said, I don't want to stretch this tutorial longer than it should be. So after installing WooCommerce, the next thing you want to do is to go and set up your product. So you go set up create product. So I've set up my product, I've created product here, and then you are also going to go and set up your attributes. Now, so I've set up attributes. So let's say, for instance, I want to create a new attribute. So I already have for color, disk space, operating system, RAM. This size wasn't really what I wanted to use with this tutorial, so let me just take that out. So let's think of another thing that you could use. Maybe you could, let's say, screen size. Okay, let me create an attribute called screen size. So I'm just doing this to show you how to create an attribute. All right, okay, so no need to fill it. This will automatically fill. So I'm going to add that attribute, and then you have to go then and configure the screen sizes. So you're going to add a new screen size. So I'm just going to say maybe 5 inches. Okay, 5 inches. I guess let me just write it at 5 inches, and then I'm going to add a new screen size. All right, so that that is added, and then I'm gonna go 6 inches, and then I'm gonna click to add that, and then that is added. So you see I have like two. Let me do the other one, maybe 10 inches, and then that is added. So if you go to your product, you could, once you have your product set up, you could just go into your products, and then you can find, if you set up your product to be a variable product, you're going to have attributes and variations, okay? And then you're going to add maybe a screen size as an attribute, okay? And then if you want to use it for variations, you're just gonna check this, use for variations, and then you're gonna select the screen sizes that you have, and then save. And then you're gonna go to, note that this will only be available when you choose variable product, okay? And then I'm gonna choose this, and as you can see, this screen size variation is already showing up here, okay? So if maybe I already have my RAM size and sorry, the disk space and the RAM size, okay, so I could match that up with a 10-inch device, and I could also match this up with a 5-inch, or this one I could say any screen size, okay? So they have to have a price, okay? And then I'm just gonna save that. Of course, you're gonna add your image. So if you don't know how to set up products for WooCommerce, you will need to check out videos on how to do that. Another thing you're going to do is you have to set up your categories. Now, the reason you have to set all this up is so that once you start building, things are going to fall in place. You want to build and then see the things that you are building, come into place. You already need content. You need content to be available for them. Okay, so you set up, just like we, set up the categories. You could set up, just like we set up the attribute, you could set up, the category, okay, for your product. So I have the Android, the iOS, and the phone category, okay? Another thing on the product I want to mention is when you are setting up your product, let me go to edit. When you're setting up your product, you also have to set up your upsells and your cross sells, okay? So upsells means products that are more expensive than the one that the person is currently viewing, and then the cross sells are usually lesser expensive products that you want to that sometimes they're accessories that maybe that goes with the device, or a pouch, like a memory card, and then here you have a more expensive device that you rather want the person to buy in place of what they are currently viewing. I think that's how this works. So now the next thing we're going to do is to install the code snippet. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to snippet, and then we don't have any snippet here that pertains to the WooCommerce site we want to build. So I already have a snippet export that I have. I'm going to import that. All right, so I have a snippet that I've put together here. So I'm just going to import that and then upload. All right, so if I go back to this, I'm going to see all the snippets. So let me just go through this snippet and tell you what they do. This is remove WooCommerce product tab. So we will need this when we're working with a single product page. Already in cart, this is to enable the already in cart button, feature on the add to cart button. And then this remove price range, we're gonna see what that will do as we walk along. And then the WooCommerce single product carousel, that was what we're gonna use in the single product page when the time comes to add that carousel effect. Then the Ajax support for cart item counts, we're going to use that when we are building the when we are building this, so that once you add to cart, if I add to cart, it's just going to update automatically without the page refresh. Display discount percentage, we're going to enable that now, because we're going to need that, because this is what we're going to use to have this. And then product sorting, we're going to enable that because we're going to use it for this. Then you may also like so these are to change the text. You may also like, so by default when you have maybe when you have this, you know, the default text is usually you may also like, and this one, and then when you are in the cart page, I think you say you may be interested in is usually, you know, you may be interested in is usually here. So to change those texts, you know, I had to change it to frequently bought together. So these are the snippet that we're going to use. So I'm going to leave those two for now. Now these are the two snippets that we're going to be using for the archive page that we're going to build. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to set up the main template. So when you're working with Oxygen, of course, this is a plugin that gives me the shortcut. What you do, you go to Oxygen template, okay, and then I'm gonna add a new template. So let me go back. I'm gonna click Add New Template, maybe like 3 times to open a new Control Add, you know, Control Click. So I have these 3 pages open so that I can quickly add this template. I'm gonna make this main template. Now this is going to be the catch-all template that will have my header and footer, okay, and then I'm gonna just publish that. I'm gonna go to the next window and add the shop archive. Okay, that's the shop archive. So for that, I'm going to come here to the archive and click on taxonomy and post types, and then for the post type, I'm gonna just, you know, select product, and for the taxonomies, I'm gonna select product categories and all product tags. Okay. All right, so I'm going to publish that, and then the next one, I'm just gonna create the, you know, the single product template, and that one will just go to the singular, and then we're gonna choose products, and then we're gonna publish it. All right, so we've created. And then one more template that we're going to add will be the search template. Okay, we want to have a search template, and then that would just be the search results. And we're going to, now all these templates, you know, are supposed to inherit from the main template, but because we have not set up a main template, there is no option to inherit. So we're going to go in and then set up the main template. I'm going through this process just in case it is the first time you're using Oxygen Builder, so that you will, you know, understand the process of how to create these templates. Okay, so without wasting much time, we're going to take I'm going to drop in some elements from the, you know, design library. So I'm using the Oxygen design set here. So you could use the default libraries. I had to disable my own because I don't want to use that. So I'm going to use the checkout libraries. I want to drop a heading here, so a header rather. So I'm going to choose these header. I'm going to add an inner content, and then I'm going to add a footer. Okay, so let me check for a footer. Perhaps a footer from another set. I'm just gonna drop a footer. Okay, all right. So this inner content is pulling in something from my, you know, sample page. Okay, so yeah, so we have that. We're not gonna work on the header or the footer. Okay, I'm just gonna have these. Then we can work on that later. So I'm gonna save this, and then we'll go back to the back end, okay, so that we can take a look at our template and then inherit the main template. So I'm gonna go to the shop archive, and then I'm gonna inherit the main template, and then click update. So I'm gonna click to edit the shop archive with Oxygen. The first thing I'm going to do is to add a section, and in that section I'm gonna drop an image. So that will be the header, just like we have here. So I just want to have an image just to spice up. It's a cosmetic approach. It's not really vital. Okay, so maybe just call it banner. So for SEO purposes, you want to make sure that you give your images all text. All right, then the next thing I want to do is normally I would add maybe another section and then add 2 divs, and now I want to build this layout, so I need to have a section with a div that is maybe 25% or 30% width, and then another one that is like 70% width. But I'm not going to waste time to do that. I'm just going to use the Oxymate helper grid. So I'm going to choose grid 11. That will just do that work for me instantly. So I have 2 divs here that is already set up, and they are automatically responsive. And the first thing I want to do is to reduce this gap. I would like my gap to be smaller, so I'm just gonna go to see they have their gap 8 class there, and I'm gonna take that off and give it a gap 6. Okay, gap 6 looks, should I make it gap 4? Now gap 4 means 4 times 4, that is 16 pixel. Okay, alright, so I think I prefer something that thin. Okay, and then another thing I want to quickly set up is the responsive. Now once we stack horizontally, I want whatever is on this sidebar to be at the bottom. Okay, so that means I want this to switch the order. So we have the medium screen size, so we have the small, the medium, the large, and the extra large, and all screen. So we have the medium screen size, so I'm going to use the Oxymate framework. So medium order. Okay, so I want to make it from the medium screen size. I've set that to be order 2. Okay, so it's order 1 here. Okay, but once we get to the medium screen size, it switches to order 2. So all this, you could set it up by using the flex box and then use reverse at a particular breakpoint. So I'm going to now that I have that, now I'm supposed to add a repeater. We're going to be using repeater, but because of sometimes how slow the repeater usually is, I'm going to build my card first before dropping it inside the repeater. So I'm going to add a div inside this div. So I'm going to add a div. Okay, now this div, I'll call it, I'm just going to rename it and call it my product wrapper. Okay, and then this one, okay, so that is this will be, I'm going to rename this to sidebar. Okay, and then this will be my let's say shop content. Honestly, have trouble naming these things. Okay, so now inside this product wrapper, I'm going to add another div. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate that to make it 2 divs. So we have 2 divs inside. Now this one will be product image. Now to rename this, you could just go here and click rename. Okay, and then this one gonna be product info. Very important to name these things so that you won't get confused while you're working. But I use a shortcut from the hydrogen pack to rename that, so in case you were wondering. Okay, alright, so we have these 2 things here. I'm going to quickly drop in an image. Okay, and then I'm going to drop in. Now, I don't like how big this thing is. Okay, so for the product wrapper, I'm going to temporarily make it 25%. Okay, so that it will be about the same width as the final stuff we'll be working with. And for that image, I'm going to use dynamic data and put in the featured image and insert. That will pull the product image. So we already have, so it pulls the first product. Okay, and for these, I'm going to add the product title. So I'm going to go to Woocommerce product title. I'm going to go back there and add the product price. I'm also going to go back there and add the star, the product rating. Okay, so we have 3 stuff there. So like what we have here, 1, 2, the title, the price, okay, and the rating. All right, now for the title, I'm going to give it a font size of 12, and then a font weight of 400, and then if I go to the typography, I just want the line height to be 1.3. Okay, and then for this product info, I just want to give it a width of 100%. Okay, so now just for any reason, you know, that the content doesn't stretch all the way, I want it to fill in, you know, the whole width of the container. So I'm just going to give it a class of W full. That gives it a full width. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to give it a class of W full. That's a framework from Oxymate I'm using there. Okay, so but if you want to do that, you could just use with 100% and type here, but it's much faster, you know, using the framework. Okay, I'm gonna, you know, centralize this. Okay, I want all this to be centralized, so I'm gonna add a class of centered, and then I want to have 16 pixel of margin, so I'm just gonna add a P4. Now these are in multiples of 4, so P4 means 4 times 4, that is 16. Okay, and then I want to add, you know, an out spacing class, okay, to this that will give an equal spacing between the elements instead of selecting each of them to give the margin top. So I'm just gonna add what they call space Y. Okay, so the space Y, I want it to have like maybe 8 pixel. Okay, so I'm gonna use Y2, so 2 times 4 is 8, so that gives an equal spacing. Now for this, I think I would like this to be horizontal. Okay, I'm just selecting that product rating, so it has a setting, and I'm gonna change the size of the star to 10 pixel. Okay, and then sometimes you want to leave this text. Okay, but if you don't want that text to show, that one customer, you go to the link and just set the font size to 0, and then that takes it away. So I'd rather not have that, even though here we have it, but most stores I've checked, they don't have it. I don't know, it really doesn't matter. It's a matter of preference. Okay, and then for this product wrapper, I want to give it a background of white. So I'm using, so all the classes I'm using here are going to be utility classes. Okay, and then I want it to be rounded. I want to add a round, you know, border radius to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a border radius, a small border radius, very small border radius, and then I want to add a small shadow to it, so shadow small. So in a few clicks, you know, I have this nice looking card. Okay, and that would have taken me a lot more time if I had to go into the settings to set that up. All right, so now that I've set that up, I'm going to take this and then take it back to remove that 25%. Okay, and then this is our shop content. Okay, so I'm going to drop a repeater in that shop content. Okay, so I have the repeater, and then in that repeater there's a div. Okay, so that div, I'm going to give it a name of product card. I'm also going to give it a class of product card. Okay, now the product wrapper that we worked on, I'm going to move it inside that product card. Okay, and then I'm going to give that product card a width of 25%. Okay, so I'm just going to give it 1/4. That is 1/4, that's 25, like 1/4 is 25%. And then I'm going to go to the repeater and go to layout. I'm going to set this to stack horizontally. Okay, and then allow multi-line. All right, now it doesn't look okay, so I'm going to select that repeater. It's just a refresh, it's not refreshing properly. I'm going to set it to single mode and set it back to normal mode to see if it's going to refresh and look the way it's supposed to look. Okay, everything is refreshed. Now let's save that and take a look at what we have on the front end. I'm going to look at the front end to see what we have. All right, so okay, everything is taking shape. Now you can see that there are spaces here. Okay, if you take a look at this, you find it. Now if you want to inspect this, you find out that that product card, you know, extends all the way, so you can see that product card here. But the other, you know, this other one, okay, this other one does not stretch all the way down. Okay, so let's just take a look at inside the editor. Okay, so you can see it here. All right, so we want to be sure that, you know, everything, you know, this one stretches. Okay, so we're just going to stretch it, but you see nothing changes. So we have to go inside. Okay, and then I'm going to select this product wrapper, which is what we are seeing. Okay, that's what has the white background. And then I'm going to go to layout and set it to flex grow 1. Okay, so you can see that it grows, but we have to do the same to, you know, this to also inside it. So I'm going to do the same. Go to layout, okay, all the way down, flex grow 1, so you can see that adjustment. Okay, and I'm going to do the same to the, you know, I don't need to do that to the product image. And then to let's just save it and then review the front end. So I'm going to refresh here. All right, so that is everything is stretched properly, but we have this star not aligning. So because this content is small, this one comes down more. So we want all the last elements, with being the star, to align. Okay, so we're going to go back, select the star, and then give it margin top auto from here. Okay, I guess that works. Okay, that worked. All right, so let's do that. Okay. All right, so everything is perfectly aligned. So okay, now the next thing we're going to do is to give it some spacing, like here. Now that's usually the tricky part, especially if, you know, you've set this to 25% the way I've done by using that 1/4 class, or by using 25% here. So sometimes you want to give it maybe the right like, so let me go and give it maybe a margin right, let's say 4 pixel. It's going to push these other ones down, and no matter what you do, it's going to push it all the way down. Okay, because you've already given it a width of 25 pixels, so sorry, 25%, so there is no room, okay, for any more space. And another thing, you might want to just reduce that to 24%, but when you do that, this is going to move back in. Okay, it's not going to align with, you know, your page width. So what I found is the parent container, you know, the reason I didn't give this any color is because I was going to use this to sort of, you know, hack that issue. Now when you're using flex, okay, there are options to give it a gap, but that, you know, gap property is not supported in all browsers. So what I'm going to do here is to give this card a 4 pixel padding. Okay, now this is the product, this is our wrapper, and this is the parent. So I'm just going to give it a 4 pixel padding. So that's P1. Okay, so that gives it a 4 pixel padding. Okay, so let's check it out how it looks. So I'm going to refresh this. So, and then you see the 4 pixel padding is applied, and even though you know, it's not exactly this same size, but it's just a little bit off, and that is a fair trade-off. Okay, and if you want to, you know, if you wanted to move to the edge, you could set this, you could go back here to the layout and then spread it space between, and it's going to stretch all the way to the edge. But the problem is, if you're doing that and then you search for stuff, okay, and then you have just 2 items, those 2 items are going to be spread apart and it doesn't look good. So I'd rather just make that trade-off and leave it like that. Okay, so we have this. So what is left? We're going to put our, you know, add to cart button, sales badge, and all the others. So let's do that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to put the let's put the add to cart button. Okay, all right, so we're going to select this product image, and then we're going to add a code block. Okay, so I'm just going to go code. Okay, so I'm going to add a code block here, and then I'm going to copy a code and paste it inside this PHP section. So I'm going to paste this code. So this code is what will, you know, give us an add to cart button. I'm going to click apply. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it, let's just leave it there for now, and then we'll take a look at the front end, what we have. Okay, So let's take a look at the front end. I'm gonna refresh that up there. So yeah, so that's how it looks. Okay, so this is what you're gonna see once you drop that in. So but I want it to stretch all the way to the end. Okay, so I'm gonna select that code block, and then now most of the things you're gonna put here, you know, using code blocks, sometimes you may not see them inside the builder. Okay, so that's one thing you have to bear in mind. Okay, so let me refresh this just to see if that is gonna come up. Okay, so still no show. All right, so I'm gonna, you know, add a full width class to it to stretch it all the way to the end. Then the next thing I want to do is to add a sales badge. Okay, so with that, I'm also going to add a code block. So I could just let me name this. Let me give that a name of add to cart. Okay, and then I'm gonna give it a class of add, let me just call it add cart. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna add code block. Okay, and then that code block I'm gonna call it sales badge. Okay, just gonna rename it to sales badge. Then I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna paste a code, okay, for that. All right, so I've pasted a code for this, and let's see, what do we need here? We need this ID sales badge. For the H6, we really don't need this ID. We don't need this class. So I'm just gonna take it off. It's not gonna come in handy. I'm just gonna. All right. So now remember, when you are setting up your WooCommerce, you know, product, you have to put some of them on sale, like, you know, give them a discount, okay, and so that, you know, you'll be seeing this stuff as you're working. So I'm going to save this and also take a look at the front end to see how that looks. All right, so you can see that the product that have sales price, you know, where you have this price crossed off, they have this sale, you know, out here. This one also has, there is a variable product, so that's why you're not seeing it crossed. Like this one, you know, this one doesn't have, so you don't see that sale. So you can see only the ones that are on sale. So that code echoes the sale, okay? And the next thing we're gonna put is the percentage, okay, the discount percent. All right, so I'm gonna add another code block. I'm gonna call that discount percent. All right, so I'm gonna call that discount percent, and then I'm gonna paste in that code. Now, sorry, I have to paste it here. We need that PHP tag, so I'm gonna apply that and save front end. All right, so we have here, this is showing 55%, and you know, it's going to show only where you have sale. So where there is no sale, it's not going to show. So it's time to style it to look like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to first of all put them in their position. Okay, now you can see that they are above this, they push these images up. Okay, so I want them to sit on top of the image, okay, like this. All right, so I'm going to select that product image div, and I'm going to set that to go to display relative. Okay, and the reason is because we want to absolutely position all this. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure I select the code block. Okay, make sure you're on the code block. If you added a class, just make sure you're on the right selector. I'm going to set it to absolute, and this one I'm going to do the same thing, set it to absolute. Okay, and okay, I think I will just back up a little bit. Okay, so for this sales batch and the percentage, I want to put two of them in a div. So I'm going to wrap the second one. Okay, so I want to put these two. I'm going to wrap the second one with a div. Okay, I found it's always easier to move things on top rather than move it, to the bottom. That's why I wrap the second one first. Okay, I'm just gonna call that sales. I'm gonna just change the name to sales info. Okay, and that's because I want them to stay in the same place. And then I'm gonna just go and I'm gonna give it a class of sales info. All right, and but I will select that ID, go and set that to display position absolute. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to set the top to 5 and then the left to 5. Okay, so I want it to align to the top 5, align to the left top, and then to the add to cards, I'm going to go back there and set the bottom to 0. So I want it to align to the bottom. I'm just going to give right and left 0 also. So I'm going to save this and then take a look at what we have at the front end. All right, so we have that. So this is seated there. Okay, and so let's style this. Okay, let's style this. Okay, so I'm just gonna go here to this sales badge. Okay, I'm gonna give it a class of custom sales badge. Okay, all right, I'm gonna give it a class of custom sales badge. But then to style this, since we're not seeing here, it's best, okay, I'm going to save this. It's better that we style this from the front end, because you know we're not really seeing what is going on here. So I'm going to refresh this, and then for that sales badge, I want to go to the inspector element and then select it. So make sure that you're selecting the custom sales badge. Okay, and so we can see that our class custom sales badge is here. So I'm going to start styling it. I'm going to give it a I'm going to start with a background color. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a background color of, let's start with maybe yellow. We could change that. Okay, nothing is applied. Okay, something is wrong here. So I just remember that in our PHP, it already has a class of custom sales badge. So I'm going to remove it from that element. So we're going to be targeting the one, you know, this div. Okay, so we are actually echoing a div, okay, with a class. So let's do that. So if I select that, you can see that there is a div here that is, you know, so I'm going to give it a background of yellow. Let's give it a width of 100%. Okay, so for some reason this is not reflecting here. I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but let me take this to Chrome and see what will happen if we can style it from there. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'm gonna select it, and then I'm gonna give it a background of yellow. Okay, so it appears Firefox is a bit buggy in terms of, so I would recommend you use Chrome for this. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna give it now I'm gonna give it yellow, but I'm gonna change that color because that's not the color I'm gonna be using. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a width of 100%. Okay, so I want it to be 100% of the parent container, and I'm also gonna give it a padding. Okay, the padding top will be 0, and then the next one will be 8 pixel. Okay, okay, something is wrong there. Padding, okay, 0, 8 pixel. Okay, and then I'm gonna give it let's see if I give this 8 pixel by 8 pixel. It's not bulging. Okay, doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, so let's continue. and then I'm gonna give it, yeah, I'm still gonna give it that padding. Let's just say 2 pixel. Okay, 8. So probably I mistyped something. Okay, and the next thing will be the typography. Okay, so if I just write font size here, it's not going to affect anything. Okay, so I need to target that. So now that I've written that, I want to change this color. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my installation. Okay, I want to use my tertiary color from here. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to just come here and paste that tertiary color. Okay, and then I'm going to just say color, that's for the text. Okay, and it's not passing it down. So I guess that's the advantage of using the Oxygen. Sometimes the font, sorry, the colors cascade down to the children. Okay, so I'm going to right click here and copy the rule, and I have my I'm going to paste it in the CSS. So let me close this. Alright, so I'm going to go to manage style sheet. I've already created a style sheet called Woo, and it's empty, so I'm just going to paste it here, and then I'm going to click save. Okay, I like using external style sheet editor to do this, but let's just refresh this. Okay, let me close this. So we're not going to be using Firefox for that CSS. We're going to be using Chrome. So we see that. So I'm going to go back to Chrome. Okay, and then I'm going to select this H6, but this H6 is kind of generic, so I need to use this element. Okay, and then I'll add H6 to it. Okay, I'm just going to add H6 to it. Yep, and then I'm just gonna say color white. Okay, and then font size will be 10 pixel. Okay, then text align center. Okay, so and then letter spacing, I want it to just be maybe 0.5 pixels. Okay, so I think that does it. So I'm just gonna copy that rule. Okay, and then now I'm gonna copy that rule and paste it in a notepad. So I don't want to keep going into the Oxygen interface, so I'm just gonna be dropping it in a notepad. Let me finish styling everything. Then for this, now this div, does it have a class? The code block doesn't have a class. Okay, let's see. So we're gonna go back into Oxygen, and then where is that discount percent? So we're going to give it a class of discount. Okay, discount percent. All right, so I'm going to save that. Okay, and we're going to refresh the front end. All right, so I'm going to refresh the front end here, and so we have that discount percent class, and then we're going to give it it's a div. We're going to give it a background of white. Okay, and then we're going to give it a padding of 0, okay, and 8 pixel. All right, and then we're going to give it a width of 100% also. Okay, and then text align center. All right, font size, I think I like the font size to be, let's just give it a 75% font size, and then the font's weight, I want it to be bold. All right, okay, so I already said that I wasn't going to write this CSS. So this is just to show the process. So I think this is going to be the last CSS I'm going to write, except I really need to do so. So I'm going to copy this rule, okay, and paste it in my notepad. And then I'm going to copy, now this is very long, so before I do that, I'm going to set, after the width, I'm going to set a maximum width, okay, of, let's say, maybe 70%. So I don't want it to be too long, okay. So I'm going to copy that rule, and then I'm going to do it the same with this, okay. So I'm going to set the maximum width of this also. Okay, maximum width to 75%. And remember, we've already set our text to be smaller, so that will fit in nicely. So I'm just going to copy that rule, and then I'll go to Oxygen, manage style sheet, and I'm going to replace this, okay, and then I'm going to add the other ones, okay, and then I'm going to save it, and then I'll refresh the page and see how it looks. So I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, so it doesn't look good. 75% is not good. So let's just take it away. Let's just take it away. All right, so let's just give it, and then we can control the width from the parent container. Okay, so this looks fine. So we have that in place, okay? And to style this button, I'm just going to, copy the CSS, that are already written for that button, okay? So there's a whole lot of CSS that controls this, okay? So what I can do to show you the changes that will be applied is if I simply go into the inspector style sheet. By the way, let me refresh this. Now I'm on Chrome now. If I do that, I can access the inspector style sheet, okay? So I'm gonna paste that, so you can see this. There's a whole lot of CSS, okay? So I'm gonna make the CSS available because they use the general WooCommerce classes, okay, for this button. All right, so you don't have to create a specific class to these styles, okay? So everything is covered here. So once you paste it inside your design, everything is just gonna push like magic, okay? So you can see the difference, all right, so I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna cut that CSS and paste it in my style sheet here. It's a good idea to name your CSS, to comment on it, okay? So I'm just gonna say custom add to cart, okay? So I should have done something similar here, but so I'm gonna paste that here and click save, and then I'm gonna refresh this. Okay, now for that add to cart button, we have a class called add cart, okay? Add cart. So let's go back to Chrome and do some further styling, okay? Now what I want to do is to move this button down. So I'm not going to write out that. I'm going to just copy the CSS that I have for this, okay? I'm going to copy the CSS that I have for that. So I'm going to enter this inspector style sheet, delete whatever is there. What I'm going to do first is to copy a CSS, and then I'm explaining what it means. So I've already written a CSS for it. So what I did is to give it a margin top of auto, okay? So, and then I've given it opacity of 0, okay? So let's take it one after the other. Okay, I'm gonna put this outside here. So the first thing I did is to give it a margin top of 0 so that it can always stay down, but probably not necessary because it's absolute and the bottom is 0. So I'll take that away. It's not necessary. I have this position absolute, which the ID already have, so I'm not going to add that. So what I'm going to do is to translate it. All right, okay, so I move it below its container, and then I give it a transition of 400, okay, and then 400 milliseconds or so, and then I give it I make it disappear. But of course, without the opacity, we are still seeing it, and we don't want to see it, okay? So so what I'm going to do is to go back to the install and then go to this product image container that it's the parent of that add to cart button, and then I'm gonna go set it to, let's see, we're gonna go set the overflow to hidden. So overflow, we're gonna set it to hidden, and then we're gonna save it, and then I'm gonna come back to Chrome and let's just cut this out and then refresh. Okay, so I'm gonna set this to alright, So I'm going to paste that so you can see that it moves. Okay, so if I disable that, you can see that it moves inside and it's lost there. So I'm still going to give it an opacity, of 0. Okay, nonetheless, but perhaps that is not necessary since it's going to come out. So less effect, better performance. So I'm just going to take that away because it's already hidden. And then I'm going to, revert that on hover. So what I'm doing is the parent is called product card. Okay, this parent. So I'm saying when you hover on the product card, change change the opacity of this to 1, and then translate this. I think this should be 0. Okay, so that should work. So I should probably add that dot here, selector here. All right, so we had 35% there. Okay, I think that works. Why don't we make it 30? Let's see how it looks. We still have some space at the bottom. Okay, so I'll just make it 33. Okay, so we have that coming out. Okay, all right, so you see the one that has this variation stuff, okay, this dash here is giving us an issue, so we're gonna fix that. All right, so I'm gonna copy that, okay, and then go to my style sheet and drop it in. Okay, all right, that works. Let's save that and check out what next. So the next thing is to put this quick view. All right, but before we do the quick view, let's quickly set up this. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go back to the back end. Okay, and then we're gonna go to the plugins, and then I'm going to enable the WPC Smart Quick View for WooCommerce by WP Clever. So you install this plugin, okay, and then activate it. So we're going to activate that, and once you do that, you're going to see WP Clever here. Go here to the setting. Now you could see an icon here, but by default what you're going to see is going to be quick view. So what you're going to have there is going to be quick view, and the settings generally you want this to be a link, okay, because we're going to customize it. If it's a button, it's going to drop a button there. We want it to be a link, and then for this place we want to replace it with an eye icon, and there's no way to put an icon here. So there's I'm going to look for HTML entities, okay, that I'm going to use. There's this site called TopTile. All right, so toptile.com, so I'm going to go to symbols. All right, we're already on symbols. Okay, so I'm just going to go down, and then unfortunately the only thing they have is this upside down symbol that looks like a magnifying glass. So I'm just going to copy the HTML code for it, okay, and we're going to go to that place and paste it. Okay, so now we want to hide this position none. Okay, what is this saying? Above cards. So we don't want it to place it. We're not using the typical WooCommerce product list. So we're gonna hide this because we want to use a shortcode. Okay, so the pop-up effects of now all this setting, you just take a look at it. This has to do with how the quick view pops up. Okay, use perfect scroll bar. Yes, I want to use perfect scroll bar. It gets rid of this ugly looking scroll bar, and then you want it to show all categories, to be available for all categories. And images, you want it, when it pops up, you want it to show everything, the product image and the gallery. And the size, just leave it like that. Light box for images, if you want that, but let's leave it. All this product summary, what do you want to show? Okay, I don't want description. Sometimes they could be long. Add to cart button, just add to cart button functionality like a single page. Okay, related product, I'm not sure I wanted to show related product. Nope. Okay, so the add to cart functionality, let it be like an archive page. Okay, so if there's any issues here, we're gonna come back to check here. View details button. Yeah, I wanted to show view details text, so you could say view product details. So I'm gonna just do that. Okay, so what it's saying here is you can add it manually by using this shortcode. Okay, but because we want to use it in a product loop, we need to dynamically get this product ID. So if we just say this and then we put one ID, okay, we can't put all the product ID, so we have to dynamically get it. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use, instead of using a shortcode, we're going to use a PHP do shortcode. Okay, all right, so let's go back to our installation. Okay, and I just remember that we're supposed to do the filter. Okay, so we're doing the quick view after all. So I'm gonna add a code block. Okay, still inside this. So I'm gonna go here and add a code block. I just remembered I was supposed to set up the sidebar, and I went straight ahead to start doing the quick views. Okay, all right. It's a brain glitch. So I have that, and just like we did the other ones, I'm gonna set it to display absolute. Okay, and then the top, I want it to be 0, and then I want it to align to the top 0 0. Okay, all right, so you can see that hello world. And for the code that is going to be there, I'm gonna just go to that PHP and then paste this code. Okay, so this code gets all the product IDs, and then it will pass that ID to that shortcode, okay, where you are supposed to put that shortcode, and that does the trick. So let's save that and take a look at how that looks at the front end. But before that, I want to rename this to quick view, and then I'm going to give it a class of quick view. And then now by default, the code block doesn't have that cursor pointer, so I'm gonna give it a pointer class. Okay, I'm gonna give it a pointer class. So, and then I'm gonna save this, then go to the front end and see what is going on. All right, so you can see it here. So if I click this, oh yeah, so that shows, and everything looks ugly. So we're gonna style all that. So you can see that magnifying glass and all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to style this. Okay, so let's go back to Chrome and take a look at our site. Let's refresh this. All right, so we see that I'm going to take this and just select that, and then go into the inspector style sheet, because I want to paste the style for this. Just paste this. Okay, that just makes everything run away. I'm gonna paste the remaining. Okay, so I'm not seeing the stuff here. Okay, so let's see what is going on here. We have a background set. Let's remove this. Okay, so I can see what the problem is here. Our class is supposed to be quick dash view. Okay, all right, so that was a problem. So what I did here was, if I take away this is just, like if I remove this color. Okay, so what this does is just increases the size of this icon. Okay, and when I put this back in, let's take this out. Let's take this out. Okay, so, and then what this does is that it rotates that glass, okay, 180 degree. All right, so what I did there was to rotate that the container of that glass, the magnifying glass icon 180 degrees for it to stand upright, and then I set it to translate Y down, and opacity to 0. And then on product card hover, when we hover on the product card, I have to take that opacity back to 1, and then reverse, reset that translate Y back to 0. But I still retain the 180 degree, okay, because if I don't, it's not going to work. Okay, it's going to be upside down. So you see, it's it's going to be upside down. So all right, and then we return our color white. So make sure that your class is okay. Like this class was named wrongly, so make sure that this class is perfectly named. So I'm gonna cut that, and then I'll go back to my style sheet, and then I'm gonna paste that after writing my comment that this is for quick view. Okay, so I've pasted that, and then we should have stuff. Okay, so you can see unfortunately the back end doesn't really show stuff the way it should, but let's try that little trick where you select the repeater, go to single mode, and then go back to normal mode to see if it's going to refresh. Okay, so let's take a look. While that is working, let's take a look at the front end and refresh it to see what is happening. All right, so we've basically, you know, done a lot here. Okay, and I think that what is remaining here is this stuff. Okay, so this stuff that is showing here is going to show anytime we have variable product with different price ranges. So we have to remove that, and to remove that have to go back to the, let me close this, go to the back end, we go to code snippet, and then there is something that remove price range. So there is a code snippet here that, you know, just supposed to take away that dash. Okay, so I'm just going to save and activate, and then I'm going to come back there to check and then refresh. Okay, so that takes that away, but the downside is that it also takes away this dash. Okay, and I have tried to see how to, you know, put that back in. Okay, and I've not yet found a solution to it, but when you click this and go to, now if you can notice here, I've put it back in here, but I used a trick, and what I did, you know, to put that back in is I'm going to show you what I did to put it back in, which is really not a complete solution. What I did is let me go to the back end of this. I'm going to go to my style, edit style sheet externally. This is a cool, awesome plugin by Matthias. You can edit Oxygen style sheet outside of Oxygen. Okay, so this is what I did. So I used the ID of that particular product, and then I targeted the element and then added that, you know, manually, but that is not going to work because I can only select one ID at a time. So I need to be able, okay, if anyone watching this has a solution to this, I need to be able to target products that have multiple prices for the variations, and then, you know, if I can have a selector for that product, okay, and then to replace it with here, and then I can solve that problem. But for now, I can't solve that problem. But if you go into the single product, even with that problem existing in the archive page, this will still be here. Okay, this will not disappear. All right, so that is you know, where I had an issue with. I'm still looking into that, but we are basically done here. So the next thing is the filter. So we're gonna go back to the back end, and then we're gonna go to plugins, and we're gonna install the filter plugin. Okay, so this is what we're gonna use, Themify WooCommerce product filter by Themify. So I'm going to activate it, and then once I do that, I'm gonna see product filter here, and then I'm gonna go to product filter, then I'm gonna add new. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this product filter. Okay, all right, so I want it to be vertical, do not show empty fields, standard pagination, no reset button. I want to add reset at the bottom. Okay, if you want it to toggle, I don't want toggle, and then reset label should remain like that. Scroll to result, no need, show result on the same page. Yep, so we're going to start dragging this in. So the first one is price. Okay, so I'm just going to say filter by price. Let's just make it capital. Filter by price. Okay, we want it to be a slider. Okay, and the next one will be category. Okay, I'm just gonna give it category. All right, and then the next one will be RAM. Okay, so you just have to drag. Let me close this. RAM, I think I should drop them. Okay, so RAM, show product counts, checkbox is fine. Horizontal, I want to make it 2 columns. Okay, the next one will be which one? OS. So do we have OS here? For the life of me, we don't have OS. Okay, we didn't set up the OS. Okay, operating system. All right, I was looking for OS. All right, so operating system. Okay, 2 columns, and then the disk space. Okay, let's call that disk. I think for the disk space, I'll leave it 1 column. Let's just have that for a change. And then color. All right. Okay, so checkbox. All right, I'm gonna save that. But this one, I want this to be, yeah, horizontal is fine for that. The disk space, what do we do? Vertical, yeah. Okay, that vertical. So I'm gonna save that, and then the instruction, I think the instruction says you could use a shortcode, yeah. So let's copy that shortcode. I'm gonna go into this, and then I'm gonna drop a shortcode. A shortcode there, and I'm gonna put it. Okay, I want it to, you know, be full width, so I'm just gonna give it a full width class. Okay, now it is not going to show inside Oxygen, and then let's refresh. All right, so filter by price is here. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to just add so that sidebar, I want to add, you know, a card class to it, just to give it a nice rounded edge like that. Okay, and then I'm also gonna add a shadow, small shadow to it. All right, so let's save it and then check out the front end. All right, so we have our stuff, color. So if I check Android, it's gonna return, you know, all, you know, Android categories. You know, if I check let's just clear this. If I take the price all the way down, so you see it shows only the lower prices. So yeah, it's cool, it's working. All right, so we need that sorting here. Okay, product sorting. Okay, so let's go to the back end and then check our snippet that has to do with sorting. So we had that there. Let's click and see if there's any instruction. Okay, all right, so this is basically a shortcode. So we're going to add a shortcode, you know, in the builder. So yeah, so this is activated. All right, so we're going to go into the builder and select this shop content. I'm going to add a shortcode. Of course, I want it to be at the top of that repeater. Okay, and then I'm going to paste that shortcode. Oh, that's not how. I need to put them in brackets. All right, let's see. Okay, and then I want to have this all the way here, so I'm gonna give it a margin left auto to drive it all the way here. So let me save this and see if it shows on the front end. So I'm gonna refresh that. All right, and the sorting shows, so you could sort by low to high price. Okay, Go sort by high to low. All right, it's working perfectly. All right, so let's reset that URL back to the regular shop. Okay, so that looks good. So yeah, so I think we have let's compare with what we had here. So that's basically it. We've added we've done what we're almost done with the archive page. Okay, so let's just style this. Okay, this everything here looks somehow, this is so big, this looks so outdated, the styling here. So I have a CSS, okay, and I'm going to, let's go back to Chrome to check that out. I have a CSS. Let me refresh this. Okay, and then I'm gonna just go that quick view. Let's go into the inspector style sheet. Alright, so I have a CSS that will take care of all of this. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy it. So I'm gonna copy it and paste here, and boom, everything, you know. So what I did was I just gave this font size 12, border bottom, and then gave it a padding, you know, and then the paragraph inside here I took it down to size 14, and then these arrows, okay, so if I take this out, the arrows return to how the way. So that is what I did to style that. So that is the CSS. All the CSS is going to be available for you to use, so don't fret. Okay, so I'm going to go back and to my style sheet and paste that CSS. So I'm going to just call it a quick view model. Okay, so quick view model. Okay, so I paste that there and save it. So we've been able to set up the product. We have the add to cart that works, and then let's see, have we sorted this out again? So we have not tested that, so let me refresh this page, and then let me add to cart. Okay, so I've added to cart. Let me refresh and see if that is going to show add again. So it's not showing add again. So let's go back to our snippet, and then so we're going to enable already in cart. Okay, so that is what will you know, add that feature to the bottom. So let's go back, and then I'm going to refresh this. Sorry, not that's not what we're refreshing. Yeah, this is what we're working on. I'm going to refresh this. Alright, so it says add again. Okay, so now the ones that are already in cart will say add again. And take note that this, you know, the way we did the add to cart button is in such a way that you know, if the product is out of stock, okay, the add to cart button will not show, and we did not do that. So the add of stock you know, feature, we have not added that. So that is one other thing we need to do. So let's just do that before we end. So that's what was left. All right, let's go to this, and then we're going to add a code block there also, and then I'm going to call that code block out of stock, and then I'm going to open up the code block. Okay, I have a code for it, and I'm just going to paste that code here. So what that code says, get stock quantity. Okay, and if there is nothing in the stock, you know, if the stock is less than 1, or the product is not in stock, echo this statement, out of stock, and it has a class of an ID of C out of stock badge and a class of custom out of stock badge. Okay, so that's what we're going to use in styling it. I don't need the ID for this headline, so I can take that out. So I'm going to apply it. Okay, all right, I'm going to save that, and then we'll go to the front end and take a look at it. All right, so we'll take a look at it using Chrome. So I'm going to refresh this. So you can see it's screaming out of stock here, okay, where there is no stock. So you can see where you don't have stock, the cart button does not show. All right, so I'm going to just select that, okay, and then go into a style sheet. So I already have a CSS for that. I'm going to just paste it. Okay, so, and that does it. I think one more thing is I need to add this text align center. All right, that does it. So what happened here is let me just comment this out. Okay. All right. Now what happened here is I position this out of stock absolutely. Okay. And then I move, normally it's supposed to fill up everywhere. Okay. So I moved it 50% from the top. Okay. And then I moved it to center it. I moved 50%, you know, left, and then translate 50% to center that div. Okay. And then I gave it a background of this, you know, reduce it by 80%. That is the opacity of the background. I gave it a width of, you know, 100, a height of 100, and then the paddings. Okay. And then for this, I targeted the, you know, the H6 inside of it, and then I gave it a font size of 12 and text align. So you can see everything looks great here. So that seems to be the final thing that we had to do. So I'm going to just save that in a CSS style sheet. Okay. I'm gonna make that comment. What is that? Out of stock. Okay. Paste that and then save, and then we're gonna refresh to see what we have here. So this is finished saving, and I'm gonna refresh that. All right, so everything is in order. Okay. Okay, next let's take a look at the mobile view. Okay. All right. So what are we going to do here? So what we had here was we had a 1x4, okay, which made this to be 25%. So by the time we get to this screen sizes, by the time we get to this screen size, you know, I want it to be like 3, okay. So the medium, all right, so I want the medium width of this to be 1x3. Okay, so I'm gonna go medium width. Okay, so 1x3, so that changes it to 1x3. So it is actually 1x3. Let's try it. Let me refresh that repeater to see how it looks. Okay, so you can see it's 1x3, and then by the time you get to the smallest view, the smallest, you want it to be medium. Okay, full width, sorry, not medium, the small. Okay, small full width. Okay, so it's gonna reset everything. I chose the wrong thing. Okay, it's supposed to be this. Okay, so it has the medium 1x3, the normal 1x4, so I'm gonna give it a small full. Okay, so at the smaller breakpoint I want it to be full like this. So all right, so now at this breakpoint I don't want to display it like this. Okay, so I'm going to select this. Okay, now we have the product image and the info, that's the up and the down. I want to display them side by side. Okay, so I'm going to add the small, you know, horizontal. Okay, so we're going to make it to flip. Now you could use your normal flex box stack horizontally to do this. Okay, so I made this to flip. Okay, so horizontally. Okay, so for this one, all right, I want these items to be aligned to the left. Okay, so I'm gonna just use this and align it to the left. For some reason the text is not aligning. Normally it should, but I'm just gonna go down to the title. Okay, and just align that. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is to select that product column. I want to give it just a left border, so I'm gonna just give it a border left. Okay, and then I want to give it a border color, so the border color is already set up here, so I'm gonna just drop that border color border color class to it. Okay, so that that looks good. Okay, so let's take a look at it from the front end and see how that looks. Alright, so we have a page here. I'm going to refresh it. Okay, then I'm going to go into so we're looking at this at the iPad. We have 3. Okay, so I think that 3 columns should start here. Okay, it should start here, but then let's go into the phone. Okay, so we go into the phone, we see this looks great. I like that. I like the way it looks. So we have a different layout. So what we're going to do is to make sure that the buttons, okay, appear, because we're not going to be doing hovering on mobile. Okay, so let's fix that with some CSS. Okay, to do that, while in this view, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take this add to cart, and then I'm going to duplicate it because I need that to come out from where it is. The first thing is I want to move that one, the one I duplicated, all the way down here. Okay. Okay, so remember that while that button was here in this product image, this button was positioned absolutely, and the product image folder, I mean the div, was positioned relatively. So we also have to position this relatively, okay, so that this will be absolutely positioned with relative to this. So we have to go back to the highest breakpoint, okay, and then we are going to go to layout, position, relative, okay. Then we're going to come back there, and let's save this and then see what we have at the front end, and then from there we can adjust the style. Okay. Alright, so we see the button shows up here. Alright, so the button shows up here, and then we're gonna go to the mobile view. So we can see the button showing up here in the mobile view. The reason it's coming all the way down here is because that container is not set to, you know, overflow hidden, so we can still see it. And okay, I think that's just a good thing, so we can style it. Okay, so I'm going to go into the inspector style, and then this is add card, but then the parent here was called product info, so I'm just gonna go the product info add card. Okay, so we're just gonna copy this to the back end. We want it to be active at a lower breakpoint. Okay, so we're gonna add a media query for that. So maximum width of 481 pixel, and then I'm gonna paste that in there. Okay, alright, so I'm gonna paste that in there. Then for this other button, so at the lower breakpoint we want it to display none. Okay, so we go to layout, we don't want it to show up. Okay, alright, but this is still showing, so we need to bring it down. Okay, so let's save this and see what we have so far. So I'm gonna refresh that. So this is still showing. Okay, so we forgot to hide this at the higher breakpoint. Okay, so I'm just gonna hide that, and here we're gonna make it show. Probably use block. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna refresh that. Alright, so it's not showing up here, but when we have this, it's showing up here. Okay, so now all we need to do is to bring this quick view icon back here. So let's go back to Chrome, refresh, I want to select where we have that quick view. Okay, so it's around there. So we're going to look at for that the class of quick view. So this is it. Okay, so I'm going to just write it quick dash view, and then I'm going to change opacity to 1. Okay, and then the transform translate, I'm going to copy it from this, copy declaration, and just drop it there. So, nope. Transform, let's stay, and then I'm going to change this to 0. Okay, no need for the percentage. Okay, so this is what we need, and then I'm going to put top auto. Okay, so I'm just going to put important there. Okay, bottom 0, left 0. Okay, so probably that top auto, yeah, is important. Alright, I think that does it, brings it all the way down. So that should work for the lower breakpoint. So I'm going to copy that, copy rule. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the style sheet and go to the media query. I'm going to paste it there. Alright, so I would like to take out this important. Oh, it's necessary, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, so we have that there. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to refresh this. So we have that. So if we use responsive, and then as we go down, okay, we don't see it, and then boom, we see it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable it from 10, 10, like once we get to iPad. Okay, I'm going to enable it. All right, I'm going to enable this to come up and that to show. Okay, so how we're going to do that is let's go back. So let's check the breakpoints. From this breakpoint, I want the buttons to be visible. Okay, so so we're going to copy all this. Put it there. That should come before this one. Okay, and then it should be 1028 or 1025. Yeah, things are already showing up here, but for this one, I think what I'm going to do is for the quick view, I'm going to take out this bottom stuff. So let it return to where it was, and I think that is it. Then for the add to cart, I think the add to cart is okay. Let me just, alright, so we make that show from the iPad. So let's go and take a look at it. Now before we go, this is showing, I don't like the fact that it's showing 4 here on this screen. So we're gonna take that. That's the medium screen. So the medium width should be, we should have 1 by 3. That's 33.3%. So let's deal with that. That's the product card. So we have medium 1 by 3. Okay, we do have that. So we have to do large. So this is small, medium, large. Okay, so we have to do large 1 by 3. So I'm going to take that out from the medium since it's going to cascade down. Then I'm going to do a large with 1 by 3. Okay, so that should solve the problem. So what I'm basically doing is just making that 33.3%. So I'm going to refresh. So we have 3, 3, and we're supposed to have the button show up, but the button is not showing up. So what do we do? Okay, So the mistake we made was that that button, was we need to, that button was, had some specificity to it. So it had product info. Okay, so it's going to be product card here. Okay, we are targeting the one for the bigger screens. Okay, so I'm going to come here and refresh. Alright, so if we go responsive on a very large screen, we don't have it because that supports hover. But once we start getting to mobile, it shows up. Okay, see, everything breaks in, and then this breaks in. Alright, so that's perfect. Okay, so only thing left now is to find a way to deal with this big gap here at the bottom. Okay, so figure out why this stuff is like this. I'm gonna select it, and it's the button. Okay, that selection. Okay, that's the button. Okay, so we see that orange color is a margin color. So this WooCommerce add to cart inline, okay, has some margin bottom to it. We're gonna take that out. Okay, so I'm going to just copy a class that belongs to that, and if I go in here to paste that, and then make that 0, so see, it takes away that big space. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in a breakpoint, the 480 breakpoint. So I'm going to go there and then go to 481 breakpoint, paste it. Alright, so I'm going to save that. I hope I don't need to add important to that. So I'm gonna refresh it. Okay, so no more space. Okay, everything is good now. What we have is just the normal padding here, and this one I would like to move this down a little bit. Okay, so that translates Y0. Why don't we just make it like 10 pixel? It's going all the way inside. Okay, so that will not work. So all we need to do is to drive these downwards. Okay, so why do we have a big space there? So that's the first thing. Okay, this block. But let's see. What if we say height 100%? Okay, that helped. Okay, so for that div block, let's see if we had I'm gonna take that out and see if we can apply it to the class. That was the product, the product card, I think. Yeah, we didn't have a class there, so let's check though. That was the product image, so we didn't give it a class. Okay, so we're just gonna apply that to the ID. So you just go to size and spacing. At this breakpoint, we just want to take the height to 100%. Alright, so that fills in and makes this to stay at the bottom there. Okay, now that is staying at the bottom, I might want to move that up a little bit by maybe 2. Okay, so bottom 2 pixel, so I'm going to move it by 2 pixel. 2 pixel. Okay, maybe 4, and then left also by 4 pixel. Alright, so just to lift it up a bit, I want it to align with the button. Okay, so maybe let's, and we're gonna come back here to check. Alright, let's refresh that. Okay, so this stays. So all we're having is a padding of this padding is calculated, okay? P4 is calculated. So if we want to have this, like you want to have that, so we could just check here and see what we can do to lift that bottom all the way up a little bit, okay? And then okay, so I can give it 812, okay? 812 sort of 812 kind of, you know, put them in the same, around the same, you know. So yeah, 812. So I'm gonna make it 812. So that should work. Or I could just do it 1212, but okay. But 812 looks better. So I'm gonna do 812. So bottom 12, and then the side 8. Okay. All right. I think that so that does it. So let me refresh. So I think we're done with the with the mobile editing. Okay. So alright, so if I go here and go to responsive, so everything looks good here, and then begins to break. Yep. Ads. Okay, that looks great. That looks great. So I hope you learned something from this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how to set up the single product page. Okay, we're going to set this up. This is going to be a lot of work. We're going to set this up. We're going to set up the buy now button, the upsells, the recently viewed, the reviews, the question and answers, related products, of course, description and detail. We're going to also take a look at something nice here. If I add to cart, you see that this appears. Of course, we've been able to you see that disappears after some time. Okay, normally the default WooCommerce notification, added to cart notification, just stays there. And of course, I've styled it to be slicker. It's not as big and fat like the default one. So we're going to add a JavaScript that will make that thing go away after some seconds. And if you want to follow along, I'm going to put the CSS of what we have done so far in the link below. So you're going to have all the CSS in the link below, and you're going to have all the code snippets in the link below. All right, so you could try it out, and if you have any question, you ask. Don't forget to hit the like button. I'm kind of appealing that you do me a favor by hitting the like button. It helps, you know, YouTube recommends this video to other people. If it sees that those who are watching it like it, it's going to recommend it to other people. So do me a solid, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell for the next tutorial. See you some other time. Have a great day. Bye.